There's a ton of advice out there on how to create with video. One of the more practical elements, I think, comes from Nate at Channel Makers.
If you were starting a brand new channel, you say, Nate, what should I do first? This is what I would say. I'd say, okay, whatever you know about it, make some videos, fully produce videos, and then publish them. Because at that point, the conversation that we could have changes caliber dramatically after you've already published some videos on YouTube. At that point, we can really start talking about what will work for your channel and what you really enjoy versus what you don't.
This is so important because you're going to suck, and you're going to suck from the very start. Your stuff is just going to be bad, and then slowly it gets just better and better. And one way to put this is from Gary J. Wyatt, who says, no matter what you do in the beginning, it's going to suck because you suck. But you'll get better and you'll suck less. And as you keep doing this, eventually you will suck so little, you'll actually be good. In a lot of ways, this might be counterintuitive to advice out there which says, know your avatar, go deep within your niche, figure out their pain points, their problems, and look at how you can solve those problems. Really go deep with those. Go on Amazon, look at books, look at reviews, look at all these different places, groups, Facebook groups, and just do a real deep dive into that niche, those people, and what their 3 a.m., pain point is. And then go about solving that. Now, while this is great and everything, and it makes logical sense, I mean, you go deep dive into your niche and you also learn all the skills about, creating with video. Usually what ends up happening is there is so much to research and so much to know that you could go on and on and on. And you think, oh, okay, well, once I'm done researching, then I start. But since there's all this research to be done, it's a never-ending loop or never-ending well of research. So what ends up happening more often than not is you get into an area where you're never really starting. You're always researching, and it's never really done, so you never really start. Or let's say when you do, you start, and then your videos suck because you haven't started creating and learning how to craft that way. And so you put all this effort into these videos that get no views, and it disempowers you. And then you stop creating altogether. You say, well, I didn't get the result I wanted. But in fact, you didn't, because you didn't start early enough. So you could basically iterate towards something that worked alongside your research, so that you're learning how to create as you're researching and as you're sharing, instead of having it all be done at once and getting to this point, which is never really there. It's like a procrastination thing, where you think, okay, well, I'll get this perfect, and then, of course, I'll start because it'll be perfect and everybody will see it. And just by virtue of it being so great, they're just going to share it, and all this great stuff is going to happen, and I'm going to be a success overnight, basically. But that never really happens, and more often than not, really what you end up doing is just staying in that research and never starting one. There's also something that happens when you wait to start creating with video. You miss out on basically learning your voice and crafting with your voice and getting kind of that mastery of craft to creating with video. Because you're focused on, okay, well, I'll learn, get all the equipment, and then when I'm ready, I'll start. When in fact, starting actually helps you creating with your phone right away, creating with what you know right away. And that way you have this chance to iterate towards your voice. You have a chance to gather an understanding of how story works or how video works from actually doing it. And that way you can gain equipment, you can gain practical advice along the way based on what you do instead of what you think you're going to do. And it's much more applicable, it's much more tangible doing it that way. It's like pushing a car. That pushing of the car initially is just so hard to do. Once you get some momentum, keeping that momentum is much easier because the wheels are already rolling. It's the same with creating with video or creating with anything. You get some momentum going and you can see and learn along the way rather than waiting for this perfect moment to start. When you take steps forward knowing you're going to suck from the start, there's a release of expectation from that. You're okay with stumbling and with just basically sucking. In that going forward without knowing, you instead have a mindset of discovery. And that is one of those like beginner's mindset, as they might put it, where if you weave that into your content creation process, whatever, no matter what content you create. The other part of this process that's really cool is that it becomes more of an intrinsic motivation. So that despite having low, like let's say likes, views, and comments, you become fascinated by the mastery of crafting video itself. And that gives intrinsic motivation to what you do, meaning you're looking at crafting your story better and understanding your voice and really getting at creating video in a way that you excel as you move forward. And so that each video you create has its own reward in that respect, regardless of the likes, views, and comments. And as things move along, your content, I think, your content becomes much more shareable. It becomes much more noticeable by people when you do that, because they can sense that intrinsic value unconsciously within what you're saying. And so it becomes not something of, you gotta like, subscribe this and share it everywhere. And people are almost begging for that right off the bat, like right at the start of their videos or soon after, is this constant need for people to take action. And that's a burnout. And I think there's something to be found within that intrinsic part and just sharing the information and lightly suggesting rather than always, kind of plummeting people with these requests to like, subscribe, and share. And a lot of that comes from looking at the mastery of craft, looking at getting better at lighting, looking at story, and really your voice is so essential, finding that voice. In fact, there's some people who say you really have to create like 100 videos. And that's when you're really getting started. That's when you've actually gotten things down and you're really going for it. There's a loss of that expectation. You really are seeing where you're touching people in new ways, and it doesn't have to do with having to reach a certain, level of subscribers or likes or whatever. It's that interactivity, and it's actually solidly engaging that audience, and then that becomes much more enjoyable. One or two people is all you need to really get that and feel that engagement. From my perspective, it also helps you co-create with your audience. You're getting, if you can go along and get to a certain point, you don't have to create alone. Suddenly, you have subscribers not only to your channel but also to your newsletter, and you can get feedback from that audience. And in that sense, you're co-creating your content instead of creating in isolation. One of the things that helped me get started, I put into an email series with some exercises and just a process that is very non-threatening, allows you to create and find your voice at the same time without that need to follow a script. And it really pushes you. It's the different techniques allow you to push through all of that and really find your stride. And it's non-threatening and it's very easy to do. Anybody can do it. And so I put this into a short email series. You can unsubscribe at any time. And it basically just walks you through that process so that you can even if you've been doing video for a while and you're used to doing it from a script, it can kind of get you off of that need to have a script. The link for that is in the description. So thanks a lot for watching. If you found this video helpful, be sure to give it a like, and I'll see you next time.